Stephen King has created some of the most haunting, unforgettable monsters in the entire history of horror fiction. These aren't just jump scare creatures or simple villains, they are nightmares shaped from childhood fears, cosmic darkness, emotional trauma, and raw human instincts. His monsters stay with us because they feel alive, unpredictable, and deeply connected to the real anxieties we all carry. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. Today we're diving into the darkest corners of King's multiverse to explore 10 of his most disturbing creations. From shape-shifting predators to cosmic horrors that feed on fear itself, these monsters prove once again why Stephen King remains the undeniable master of horror. Prepare yourself, because each of these creatures reveals a different kind of terror, one that doesn't just frighten you, but lingers long after the story ends. Let's get into it. El Cuco, one of the most unsettling creations in King's multiverse. El Cuco stands out not only because of its abilities, but because of what it represents. A monster that feeds on trauma. Introduced in The Outsider, El Cuco is a shape-shifting entity believed to be from Todash space, the same primordial void that created other evil beings in King's multiverse. It can mimic the appearance of any person by feeding on their DNA, scratch them, infect them, and then gradually take on their likeness. This makes El Cuco almost impossible to detect, because by the time people realize what's happening, the damage is already done. What makes El Cuco so terrifying is its feeding ritual. It doesn't just kill, it absorbs grief, fear, and emotional agony, feeding on families who were already experiencing their worst moments. By duplicating innocent people, El Cuco destroys reputations, relationships, and entire communities long before it ever attacks its victims. The half-formed, incomplete stages of its transformation are especially horrifying, giving the monster an uncanny, broken body appearance that feels like a living nightmare. As a predator of both physical bodies and emotional suffering, El Cuco stands among King's most disturbing beings.
It's like all those spooky monsters you think are hiding under your bed.
The Boogeyman. Originally published in the 1970s and adapted decades later into a modern film, The Boogeyman remains one of King's most unsettling short stories. The monster at its core is a shadowy, undefined entity that preys exclusively on children. Its attacks often resemble unexplained crib deaths or tragic accidents, making it even more disturbing because the horrors it causes blend so seamlessly with real-world fears. Parents read the story and feel a chill because it taps into the deepest anxiety any caregiver can experience, the fear that something unimaginable is hiding in the dark, waiting to take their child. What makes King's version of the Boogeyman uniquely terrifying is that it hides not in closets or under beds, but in plain sight. The creature is revealed to be masquerading as a trusted psychiatrist, meaning the protagonist has been confessing his fears to the very monster tormenting him. This twist transforms the Boogeyman from a folklore creature into a predator that thrives on emotional vulnerability. Like Pennywise, it prefers fear to flesh, making it a psychological threat as much as a physical one. Few King monsters capture the blend of helplessness and paranoia as effectively as this faceless terror.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brain.
The Overlook Hotel. King took the concept of a haunted house and transformed it into something far more disturbing. The Overlook Hotel in The Shining is not just a building, it is a living, conscious force fueled by decades of violence, secrets, and human suffering. Its power grows from the tragedies embedded in its walls, feeding on the emotional weaknesses of anyone who stays within its halls. The more fragile or unstable the guest, the more influence the hotel gains over their mind. Jack Torrance becomes its most famous victim. In the novel, Jack is not a madman when he arrives. He is flawed, hopeful, vulnerable, and desperate to rebuild his life. The Overlook exploits that vulnerability, whispering to him, manipulating him, and gradually consuming him until he becomes its instrument. King has famously said that Kubrick's adaptation misses this emotional nuance, but the novel makes the Overlook feel like a demonic parasite that amplifies humanity's worst impulses. Its legacy spreads further in Dr. Sleep, where the ruins of the hotel continue to serve as a battleground for psychic forces. The Overlook's blend of supernatural evil and psychological horror makes it one of King's most iconic monsters. Cujo. Cujo is terrifying precisely because he is not inherently evil. In one moment, he is a gentle Saint Bernard, beloved by a child. In another, he is a rabid, uncontrollable force driven by pain and disease. His transformation is triggered by something entirely real, a bat bite that infects him with rabies. King's decision to remove supernatural elements from Cujo's story makes it even more disturbing because it shows how horror can erupt from something natural, sudden, and unavoidable. The brutal intensity of Cujo's attacks isn't the true source of terror. It's the emotional premise. Donna Trenton and her son Tad become trapped in a sweltering car with a killer outside and no rescue in sight. Every failed attempt, every hour spent in rising heat, every moment of hopelessness pushes the story into deeper dread. Cujo may be a victim of a disease, but he becomes one of King's most terrifying monsters because he turns an everyday fear, an animal attack, into a prolonged nightmare, driven by panic, dehydration, and maternal desperation.
Get out of my head! Get out!
Rose the Hat. Dr. Sleep introduces one of King's most sinister villains, Rose the Hat, leader of the True Knot. Unlike traditional monsters, she is calm, polite, charismatic, and disturbingly human. Beneath her charm lies an immortal predator who feeds on the psychic essence of children with the Shining. The steam produced during torture is the most potent, making Rose and her cult some of the most sadistic beings in King's universe. Rose's character is terrifying because of her intelligence and patience. She studies her victims, strategizes the perfect moment to strike, and treats murder as both a ritual and a necessity. Her obsession with Abra Stone, an extraordinarily powerful young girl, reveals Rose's true nature as a manipulator who will cross any line to extend her life. Rose the Hat is the rare kind of villain who blends ancient evil with modern personality, making her distinctively chilling and one of King's most memorable modern antagonists.
If we don't fight back, they'll come for us eventually.
Kurt Barlow. In Salem's Lot, Kurt Barlow revives the ancient folkloric version of the vampire. Not seductive, not poetic, but monstrous, ancient, and utterly malicious. Barlow predates Christianity and embodies the primal horror of a predator that feeds on humans with no remorse and no weakness beyond tradition. Unlike the refined aristocrats of modern vampire fiction, Barlow hides in shadows, communicates through terror, and infects an entire town with a slow burn dread that grows page by page. His partnership with Richard Straker, his human familiar, makes Barlow even more frightening because he corrupts people before he ever touches them. By the time he actively feeds, the town is already collapsing from within. As a Type 1 vampire, Barlow possesses immense strength and ancient knowledge, allowing him to hibernate for centuries and rise again with unstoppable hunger. He is King's purest form of vampiric evil.
I know that the guy who owned the car before Arnie, his daughter choked to death.
Christine. Christine is the rare monster that blends possession, obsession, and psychological manipulation into a single entity. A 1958 Plymouth Fury, Christine initially seems like a harmless passion project for the lonely Arnie Cunningham, but as Arnie restores the car restores something else. Its influence over him. Christine is heavily implied to be possessed either by the spirit of her former owner, Roland LeBay, or by a demonic force that thrives on loyalty and jealousy. Christine's love is suffocating, obsessive, and murderous. Her ability to regenerate after damage makes her both supernatural and unstoppable. The The idea that an object as mundane as a car can become a predator adds a layer of uncanny horror that keeps Christine unforgettable.
Why does the man in black want to destroy the tower?
The tower protects both of them.
The Crimson King. As the ruler of the Outer Dark and the overarching force of evil across King's multiverse, the Crimson King represents pure chaos. His ultimate goal is the destruction of the Dark Tower, the structure that holds all realities together. If the tower falls, creation collapses, and the Crimson King reigns over the ruins. His influence extends through countless servants, including Randall Flagg, vampires, and demons, making him an omnipresent threat looming over the multiverse. The Crimson King's monstrous appearance, twisted body, yellow eyes, jagged teeth reflects his mental decay and eternal hunger. Though he doesn't appear as frequently as others on this list, his presence looms large in Insomnia, Black House, and the Dark Tower series. The mystery surrounding him, combined with his cosmic significance, secures his place among King's greatest horrors. Randall Flagg. One of King's most iconic villains, Randall Flagg is the embodiment of chaos, manipulation, and dark magic. Appearing in multiple novels under different names, Walter O'Dim, the Man in Black, or Martin Broadcloak, Flagg is a shape-shifting sorcerer whose purpose is to destabilize humanity and spread corruption wherever he goes. His charisma makes him especially dangerous. He convinces people to embrace their worst impulses without ever realizing they're being controlled. In The Stand, Flagg forms a fascist society based on violence and fear. In the Dark Tower, he becomes Roland Deschain's arch-nemesis, weaving schemes that span worlds and timelines. Flagg's true nature remains ambiguous, human, demon, or something in between, but his ability to reappear across generations makes him one of King's most enduring and disturbing creations.
I, Georgie, am Pennywise, the dancing clown.
Pennywise. At the top of King's monstrous hierarchy stands Pennywise the Dancing Clown, the most iconic form of a cosmic entity known simply as It. Originating from the Macroverse, Pennywise arrived on Earth millions of years ago and began a cycle of hibernation and feeding that repeats every 27 years. It prefers the form of a clown because it attracts children, whose fears are simpler, stronger, and, according to Pennywise, more delicious. Pennywise is terrifying because fear itself is its weapon. It transforms into whatever its victims dread most: a leper, a werewolf, a painting, a parent, or even a manifestation of personal trauma. But the scariest element is its influence on the town of Derry. Adults overlook violence, ignore cruelty, and forget horror because Pennywise infects the town like a psychic plague. Its true form is beyond human comprehension, making the clown merely a mask for something ancient, malevolent, and godlike in its cruelty. Pennywise is not just a monster, it is a cosmic force built entirely from fear.
I'll take all of you.
Our nerdy thoughts. And there you have it, 10 Stephen King monsters that prove why he's the absolute master of horror. From emotion-eating shapeshifters to cosmic entities ancient beyond our imagination, his creations remind us just how deep and disturbing fear can go. If you enjoyed this trip into King's darkest corners, hit the like button, subscribe to Your Nerdy Show, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our future dives into horror, fantasy, and everything in between. Which Stephen King monster terrifies you the most? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your picks. And if you want more from me, I've got plenty lined up: character breakdowns, story analysis, and multiverse crossovers. Thanks for watching. I'm Spoiler Master, and I'll see you next time. Stay spooky.
Time to float.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.